To the United Kingdom now, Prime Minister Boris Johnson began a third day in intensive care Wednesday, battling the coronavirus, which has struck at the heart of the British government, infected more than 55,000 people across the country and killed nearly 6,200. Joining us live from London, here's Giancarlo Matera. Gian.
Hello, Alma.
Hello, Gian.
The headlines from the United Kingdom today. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is still remaining in intensive care. The British Prime Minister, as you said, has spent his second night in intensive care and his third in hospital. But Downing Street have insisted that he is in good spirits, stable and receiving standard oxygen treatment, but not invasive ventilation. But it is serious and frankly unsettling as the country struggles to fight the disease that has struck the Prime Minister himself. Dominic Raab, who is the first Secretary of State, has been designated as the man to step in the event that Boris Johnson is incapacitated, and he is now running the country where necessary. He chaired the daily coronavirus meeting in the Prime Minister's place on Tuesday. So let's listen in.
Before we get on to the detail, can I first give an update on the condition of the Prime Minister? I know a lot of people will be concerned about that. I can tell you he's receiving the very best care from the excellent medical team at St Thomas's Hospital. He remains stable overnight. He's receiving standard oxygen treatment and breathing without any assistance. He's not required any mechanical ventilation or non-invasive respiratory support. He remains in good spirits, and in keeping with usual clinical practice, his progress continues to be monitored closely in critical care, and we'll give further updates on the PM's condition when there are any material developments. He's not just the Prime Minister. For all of us in Cabinet, he's not just our boss. He's also a colleague, and he's also our friend. So all of our thoughts and prayers are with the Prime Minister at this time, with Carrie and with his whole family. And I'm confident he'll pull through. Because if there's one thing I know about this Prime Minister, he's a fighter. And of course, for us in Cabinet, we know exactly what he wants from us and what he expects from us right now. And following the Cabinet discussion today, I can reassure the Prime Minister, and we can reassure the public, that his team will not blink and we will not flinch from the task at hand at this crucial moment.
There is a fairly steady increase in numbers. It's possible that we're beginning to see the beginning of change in terms of the curve flattening a little bit. We won't know that for sure for a week or so. But what we're not seeing is an acceleration.
That was Sir Patrick Vallance, the Chief Specific Advisor for the British government. There's been some good news the last couple of days, suggesting that things aren't continuing to get as bad as there could be. But certainly there's no suggestion that we're about to lift any lockdown. With the initial 3-week lockdown ending in the coming days, signs are that the lockdown will only continue. Now, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was admitted to intensive care on Monday evening after spending Sunday night in hospital, following concerns that he still had a cough and high temperature, 10 days after being diagnosed with COVID-19. His transfer to intensive care is unprecedented for a Prime Minister during a national emergency. For many people, it brought home the seriousness of the disease that has so far seen 6,159 deaths in Britain, with a record 786 more reported in the daily update last Tuesday. No government on earth wants to admit that their leader has been admitted to hospital, and definitely no government wants to say that he requires treatment in intensive care unit. So these are stark times indeed, certainly. Alma?
Yes, Gian, yes, the focus right now is one of the focuses right now is the health workers. How are the health workers over there? How is the UK government taking care of them?
Well, the healthcare workers here in the United Kingdom, they've really been pulling together, helping each other out, supporting them. The government has been trying to get them more of the personal protective equipment that they've been asking for, PPE, for the doctors and nurses. We've even seen members of the public taking on the challenge of making these protective guards and masks themselves, using 3D printers that they may have, and donating it to their local healthcare workers. We've also seen grocery stores setting aside specific times for the key workers to be able to shop by themselves to get their essential food and other items without having to queue for hours with the general public. So yeah, we've been doing, every Thursday, we've been celebrating the work of the healthcare workers by taking to the streets and clapping for them as they return home from their shifts.
All right. So in Italy and France, they have strict curfews, and they've also imposed fines to violators. Has the UK toughened its lockdown measures? I heard that you have no curfew?
No, Alma, there is no curfew here. And while the UK has not been as strict in enforcing these lockdown penalties as maybe our neighboring countries in Europe, in extreme cases, there have been rules where the rules of social distancing have been violated numerous times. Large fines have been being issued. One example today, a father was fined over £400.
Wow.
Because his son was caught out of the house multiple times without any valid reason. So while we have no curfew, the government is continuing to ask us to keep to the social distancing, not going out unless necessary, only for once a day for exercise. But if these rules continue to be broken, they may be forced to become more stricter.
Now, with regards to Brexit, the UK finally left the European Union, as we know, last January 31, but it remains in a transition period and has a deadline of end of 2020 to set a free trade deal with the EU. What is the current situation now with the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, now, during this transitional period we have before the end of the year, the UK is in a situation where we have no say or a vote in any EU matters, but we are still bound by the EU rules. So if we are unable to come up with a trade deal from the EU by the end of this 2020, the UK will leave the single market with no deal and will have to revert to the World Trade Organization rules. And as we know, the Brexit deal will face greater challenges ahead with now that the Prime Minister is in intensive care because of coronavirus, while even other key helpers in his government have either been infected or themselves self-isolating.
All right. Okay, thank you very much for your updates, Gian, and we'll be waiting. Keep the updates coming and keep yourself safe and stay healthy. Thank you for your time, Gian.
Thank you, Alma. I'm Jakarta Matera, EBC correspondent in the United Kingdom, and we live in interesting times.